And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara Podcast. Here's Jeff.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the JeffMara Podcast. It's Saturday night. This is the live stream, and I'm glad to see you guys. Even though I'm only really seeing you in the chat, I can't see you face to face, but the chat is better than nothing, right? All right, I'm waiting for a second just to make sure that it's working. And for what I see, it's on a delay, and I'm here. So great, we're all here. All right, so we've got two brand new guests for you tonight. One is about an NDE, and one is about a man's struggle and how he overcame drugs and how he got involved or created Upsight Vision, which we're going to learn about tonight. So on that note, let me just give you a few announcements. The first thing is, what is there? Oh, so if you look in the description below, there's just a few things there. And let me find it here on my computer. For some reason, there we go. Now I'm running on all cylinders, right? All right, so I guess I don't need to put the Zoom meeting ID anymore. I need to change that because I'm just inviting guests since, we've had trouble before. But also in the description is a link to our website, a link to our Discord, but now you have to actually message me privately and I'll give you the link because people were attacking that as well. There's a link to my personal Facebook page. My last name is Reynolds. Mara is my beloved wife, and the podcast is named after both of us. We have some other channels. I was kind of working on an indie eclipse channel, a music channel, a cooking channel. We got merch, and that's about it. You're welcome to friend me on Facebook. I'm accepting all the friends until I hit 5,000, and that's it. So if you want to get in on that friendship, then you should do it before it's too late. And that's about it. Let me see what is, let me give you the news before I bring Stuart in. We're waiting for a few more people to join, or not news, but let's see what's on the calendar for next week. So you guys will see. I had two international guests. One I recorded the other day, who is a woman from Madrid, Spain, Monica Esgueva, and she bridges Eastern and Western philosophies. And then I had Selma Hare, a Portuguese woman living in Qatar, and we talked about her previous life as being a blue avian and some other stuff about her life and spirituality and things like that. And I wish I had more to tell you, but I don't have my notes in front of me. Tomorrow is a fascinating guest that I'm going to be recording, and that is with Whitney Browning. And he, I don't know, proposes or whatever, that there is no veil. So many times we talk about people who cross over the veil, or people say the veil is thinning. But he says there is no veil. And I think I've only had one other guest that said that the veil is an illusion. So that'll be a fascinating discussion with him. The video I'm going to post tomorrow night is an NDE with a man who is not only, he's a paramedic. He's not only had an NDE, but has done ayahuasca, has done DMT, and he's very knowledgeable in psychedelics. And we talk about the differences of NDEs and psychedelics. So if you're into psychedelics, I think you'll really enjoy that one. Let me see what else is coming up for this week. Christopher Noel. Actually, I think maybe Christopher Noel's is the one that's the one. Yeah, Whitney Browning is an NDE. My apologies. Christopher Noel is the man that says there's no veil. I'll be meeting with him actually on Tuesday. Wednesday is another NDE. Thursday's an NDE. Friday's an NDE. It's a big time NDE week. And then next week, next Saturday, which our next Saturday's guest will be our very own Michael Suarez talking about his new book. And then a previous guest is a professional harpist. Peter Sterling is going to be popping in with us. And so that's kind of where we're at for the week. Let's see, how many people do we have here? 128. I guess that's enough to go ahead and get started. And we'll go from there. So let me see who's in the waiting room. And there it is. Let's bring in Stuart himself. And we'll help him out. Maybe we'll give him a little intro music. I've not met either one of these guests. I'm meeting them as we speak, just like you guys. Stuart, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jeff. Hi, how's it going?
Great, how are you?
I'm very happy to be here with you.
Well, we are happy to have you. Thank you for
so
joining
much.
us. Where are you located?
Yeah. I'm in Boulder, Colorado.
Boulder, nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. I had
Excuse me.
Go ahead. No, I had a guess. Isn't Gaia based out of Boulder, Colorado, the Gaia channel?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Cool.
Just down the street. Yeah.
Awesome. Let me adjust your volume real quick.
Okay.
I'm just going to, every guest is different, and sometimes I have to just kind of adjust it a little bit.
Sure.
And I just want to see if I can tune it in.
All right.
All right. So I kind of shortened your bio real quick just to kind of sum it up as that I can. And you are Stuart Jade. You've had a previous NDE when you were a pre-verbal baby, which you almost suffocated in your crib. And that gave you a timeless moment of unimaginable peace amid the turmoil of your upbringing. I'm just going to give that little teaser there and let everybody else learn from that. Alrighty. So, and looks like, is that your book?
Or that is my guru's book. A book about my guru.
Oh, and who is Sri
Ramana Maharshi.
Sri Ramanana Maharshi.
Sri
like
Ramana Maharshi. You could just say Sri Ramana or Bhagavan.
All right. Please forgive me because I don't keep up with gurus. Is this guru living?
Only in consciousness.
Only in consciousness. Okay. So he's not with us.
Doesn't have a body. No, doesn't have a body.
Without a body. Okay, that's a better way to put it. That's a great way. Yeah. Does he? And what a better way to ask? Does he have a body or not?
Yeah.
All right.
He dissolved into pure consciousness.
Pure consciousness. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, why don't we start with? Well, I guess it's hard to really. I mean, I guess you have full memory. I mean, can we just start on the day you died and go from there?
Yeah, we can do that, and then it's probably good to go to how I remembered it. That's a worthwhile thing. But we can go from there, and you can guide me as you wish.
Okay, great, awesome. And there you go. I'll let you go.
Okay, great. So I remembered this spontaneously in a spiritual therapy session in New York when I was in my 20s. Mm-hmm. So here's what I remembered. I remembered being in my crib. I was pre-verbal, I was a baby, mm-hmm. and which is quite strange, really, because of the changes in consciousness that I went through. So I was in my crib, and I could hear down the hallway people laughing and having a good time. And I was alone in this room in my crib, and I felt lonely. So I started to crawl towards the noise in the crib. Now, this crib has been banned. The style of crib has been banned because children suffocate due to the design.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was crawling towards the wall of the crib, my body torqued sideways, and my body slipped out, and my head got caught in the wall of the crib, and I was hanging, and I instantly was in another space. Uh, Gone instantly. No transition. I found myself in a perfectly silent, still, peaceful space. There was nothing there except this unimaginable peace. It was such a relief because I was coming from a very highly emotionally charged background. So I was in this space and felt great. And I just thought, I'll just stay here forever. And there's no time in the space. There are events, but there's no sense of passing of time. That's gone completely. I noticed in the distance like sparkles of light, seemingly quite far away, but there's no way to judge because it was an open field of awareness. And these sparkles of light came forward. And as soon as I saw the golden light, I felt the light as love, like the way we feel sunlight as warmth.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that light in that space is love, and love is light. There's no separation between the two. These beings, slowly I could make out three orb-like beings. Um, hard it's hard to describe, but they're golden
Mm-hmm.
with other colors mixed in with them. And as they came closer, I didn't have a body. I didn't have any sense of a body or any kind of, but I could think and I could understand and I could feel. Feeling is very, very strong there. Feeling is extremely strong. I could feel them, and as they got closer, or appeared to get closer, they got bigger. I could hear them, and I knew who they were. I knew them. I said, "Oh," and you don't speak with your mouth. You speak with, you just speak. It's
It's
thoughts and
telepathic.
feelings. Yeah, it's telepathic, but it's beyond that in a way. Telepathic is the best word we have for it. It's something different than that, though. It's instantaneous thoughts and feelings. I guess telepathy. It's fine. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's hard to put words to it.
Close enough.
So yeah, we're trying to find approximations for
Well, let me
something.
stop you for 1 second
Sure.
while we're kind of in the middle of something. While you were a baby, your thoughts were those of an adult. And what I mean by that is, obviously you don't, as a
Yeah.
baby, when you're in the body, I guess you don't know very much, but when you're out of the body, you were back to like being at any age, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. When I was in my when I identified with the baby body, I just felt very strong emotions and urges, and not really thought, just um, urging and feeling and sensation and desire. And then when the body experience was gone, I was just consciousness without any sense of age or body or background, except I knew where I had been and I knew the space I was in. Does that help at all?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a complete change of consciousness. It wasn't really like an adult, but I
Right.
was aware.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were there, you saw these three orbs, and you were having some sort of telepathic communication, and you
Yeah.
knew these beings. Who were
Yeah.
they?
I didn't know at the time, but I had known them forever. They had always been with me. There was no sense of meeting them. There was no sense of this being a new experience. I knew them and they knew me. I can't explain how, but we knew each other without any question. And the sense of love was profound. And I felt, and this was the first time I had felt it since I had been a baby, I felt this unconditional love, this divine love that was visceral. And you don't really have cells in your body, but in my whole being, I felt a visceral love that interpenetrated everything. And we were in this shared love space. And they clearly were very wise. They were much wiser. They were, they were profoundly wiser and more awake than I was. I was disoriented. I was just trying to.
So
I was just trying to stay with them. Yeah.
would you say that they were non-humans at any point in their existence? Something like an angel or some other
Yeah.
being?
Yeah. Closer to an angelic presence. Yeah. Although I know that one of them probably had an incarnation. Because later, many years later, when I learned to channel, I channeled a light being who had had a single incarnation
Okay.
long time ago. Yeah, so definitely one I later learned, but there was no sense of that. There was no sense of them being people in any sense of the word. They were light beings with pure consciousness, but they had a light form. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So you were there with them
yeah.
communicating. What did they tell you or think to you?
Well, I said, I'm so happy to see you. They said, oh, we're happy to see you too. And it was a reunion. It was
Hmm.
a reunion. And it felt so, what a relief. And to be there with these old friends who I knew for forever. And I said, well, this is so great. I'll just stay here with you. And then they were like, hmm. Yeah, about that. And I was like, what? What's the problem? There's no problem. I'm happy. We can go wherever you want to go. I'm good. I'm good with you here. So I got the strong impression that that wasn't going to work out, that I would need to go back. And I said, I don't want to go back. I communicated, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back there because my life was pretty bad. Does it sound okay?
Yeah, everything's good. Everything's good.
Okay.
Just
All right,
something was
just check.
going on in my room. I'm still
Oh,
listening.
okay.
Sometimes I just some stuff are going on around me, but we're all still here with you.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure the
All
sound was okay.
181 of us.
Hey, 181.
Mm.
So, yeah, they, it was clear that it was like, no, that's not going to work out. And I said, well, no, it's fine.
Mhm.
It's totally fine. I can just stay here with you and I don't want to go back.
Right?
And then they were like, well, you're going to have to go back.
Go.
And if you don't go back, you could end up in a much worse incarnation. It could be much worse for you.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that at all. I didn't understand how any of this was working. So we were in a standoff, not an aggressive one, but just an impasse. So they pulled away from me and they huddled kind of, and I couldn't hear them anymore, but I knew my fate was being decided. I knew somehow this was going to change my destiny. So they came back and opened up their awareness to me, and they said, we'll give you hope. We'll give you hope. And then my life to be flashed before my eyes. And what the researchers of near-death experiences of children call the forward life review. I found this out later. There's actually a name for it. Because I always wondered if this was real. And then they said, oh yeah, that's the forward life review. And so I saw my whole life in front of me, and it was very hard. It was very difficult for a long time. But in the end, I knew it would be worth it. And as I knew I would be worth it, I found myself back in the baby body, in the room my father had rescued me. And then it was over.
All right. So let's move forward in time into how you were able to remember this.
Yeah, that was amazing. So I had no memory of it whatsoever, except my father would often tell the story. He would nervously tell the story of how he had found me hanging by my neck from the crib. It was this crib that's now banned. Um, it's because of these suffocation incidents. And he would nervously tell the story to people, and I was like, "What? What are you talking about? This is really weird, you know? And why was it funny? You know, how could it be funny?" So I was in New York at the time. I was becoming a producer and director in fashion video and video in New York and documentary films in the 80s. I had had a really profound breakup with a woman, and my heart was broken. And I had thought that I would find happiness through relationship, through career, and I realized at that moment that I would have to find happiness within me. That was the only way, and I started to search and find out how that could be. And I ended up meeting a medium at a place called the Spiritual Frontier Foundation on the Upper West Side of New York. And I met the medium. It's another story. But through that medium, who changed my life completely, I encountered a sensitive, we call it like an intuitive or sensitive, and her husband named Renee, and they did this kind of spiritual therapy. So we'd go in and we'd record the sessions, and we'd go over what they called imprints, which were like belief systems that were imprinted on my subconscious, our subconscious. We'd be in this therapy, and we would attach mics, lavalier mics, and record it so later on I could listen back and learn from the experience, the sessions. So I was sitting there one day and I was thinking, my thoughts began to drift, and they were drifting back. And then I started to speak out loud, and I spontaneously remembered the entire event. And I spoke it out loud as I was remembering it, and all flashed before me like like a movie would, with all these things that I've told you. And I was astonished. And there, so as we started the story, as I remembered, I closed my eyes. I was having this spontaneous recall. I was crying. I was so moved by this. I was crying when I finished the recall. I opened my eyes, and it had been light when I started, and now it was dark. And the room was dark. And they were just staring at me, kind of with their jaws dropped. And we looked around. The lights had blown out. The recorders had stopped recording, and we were sitting in darkness.
Wow. How much time had passed from the
In the
beginning?
telling of this,
Yeah.
it was sunset, so it might have been a half an hour
Okay, so
when I told.
perhaps maybe in
Perhaps.
linear time in our realm, your experience
Oh, you
lasted
mean my?
about a
Oh,
half hour.
no, I think. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the recall. No, the experience probably lasted. I didn't suffer. I didn't die.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know if I died or not.
Right.
There's no way
Well,
to
you
know.
may have,
But
stopped breathing or lost consciousness.
that definitely happened. That definitely happened. That's when I was gone. That's exactly right. And then while I was in this space, there was no sense of time. There is no sense of time there. That's a creation of the mind in this realm with the body.
Yeah, I guess what I mean is like you could have been unconscious for like 1 minute or 2 minutes
Yeah,
and your father
yeah,
found you, but your
yeah.
experience is in another realm outside of time, and maybe you telling it was an hour. And that whole hour on the other side happened within a 2 minute span on our side.
Yeah, my father would have had to hear me stop breathing or something, run down the hall. So they were talking and laughing. He had to somehow discover I was not breathing. How, I don't know. He never explained that. Come down the hallway and rescue me. So that's at least a minute, but it could have been longer. And then the experience in the other realm, there was no sense of time. There's just a sense of the eternal present.
And what I'm trying to get at is the amount of time it took you to tell it. When you spoke it out
Ah,
loud, did you think you spoke for a half an hour, a couple hours?
at least a half an hour.
So maybe
maybe 40 minutes.
Maybe it would
Because
have.
I was also sitting there. I was experiencing it in my mind, and I was saying not everything that came into my mind. There would be there were gaps as I was talking. So yeah, it could have been 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. But certainly it had gone from twilight to dark because we couldn't see anything.
What do you mean that there were gaps? Like you couldn't remember things that happened,
I
or you were just trying to remember?
I couldn't speak them. I I experienced them, but I wasn't able to speak it as rapidly as I was experiencing it.
Would it be
So there were
because
verbal gaps.
you
There were
couldn't
verbal gaps. Yeah.
you couldn't speak it because you were emotionally overwhelmed?
Emotionally overwhelmed, and I was trying to translate into words and into um I was trying to translate into words. I wasn't trying, I was just translating into words what isn't like this realm at all. It's not like this at all.
Mm.
At all. Yeah, it's just completely different.
In what way?
There's no time, there's no space, there's no there's pure love, pure eternal existence, unimaginable peace. That was the love and the peace were the most profound elements. The love and the peace. The love was overwhelming, and that's why I was crying. So I was crying so much because I had never felt since I had been in my body, I hadn't felt that because the parents I were born into were terrible. They my mother was bipolar and violent, and I was unsafe. And then I was in this space of love. It was completely different, and there was no sense of separation. Though they could turn off talking to me, they could block me from hearing them. That didn't stop any sense of separation. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it's is that making sense?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious a little bit more about, was the crying a cry of happiness?
Yeah.
Like a joy, a
Yeah.
cry of unimaginable joy?
Yeah. And love and feeling loved. You know, just the relief and the beauty of it and the happiness, the joy. It just I wish I had better words. I mean,
It's a,
I really do.
you were only like what, 1 year old at the time?
I was
Maybe
still in the crib.
what,
Yeah.
between 1 and 2, and imagine how much, what the difference was at only 1 and 2 compared to like an entire lifetime of suffering and living
Yeah.
life and then experiencing it. Not to say that you,
Yeah.
not to invalidate your life.
No, I do hear what you're saying. Well, also remember that by the time I remembered in my 20s, I had had 2.5 decades of intense suffering. My life was very, very hard for many
So, oh,
reasons.
so maybe that's why the overwhelm of it, because you were kind
Yeah,
of reliving it.
yeah. I was reliving it and remembering who I am, who we all are. This is not unique to me, Jeff. This is who we are. We are this love. We are peace. We're not human beings. We're only this. We're only this. Yeah.
Was there a sense of relief, like, oh gosh, I'm glad that this is not all that is?
Oh God, yes. Oh God. Oh God. Yes. Yes. It was, I mean, can you imagine thinking that this was all there was and then suddenly realizing in a flash that being in the realm of this perfect love and beauty and stillness, no pain, no suffering, the sensations, if you could call them that, were just love and peace and a sense of communion and wholeness and unity. Yeah. Bless you.
Thank you. I have a mute
Yeah.
button, by the way. And I don't know if I never really talk about what I'm up to, but there's my room is not perfectly quiet, so I'm kind of always
Uh,
reaching and unmuting and muting my button so I can
I
block things
understand.
like my sneeze.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, you've had an amazing story. I mean, an amazing, I don't know if you would say recounting or reliving. Do you think now, or at least whenever you had this recounting of the story, did you reevaluate your life and think that that experience changed you in any way? Or do you think you just forgot about it and went on with life?
You mean as a baby or when I remembered?
When you remembered, did you go back and look at reevaluate your whole life and think, oh, that's why I was this way, or that's why I had this little bit extra empathic ability or psychic ability or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Well, for one thing, it was very hard to believe. It was very hard to believe. Even though it was such a strong experience and it corresponded with what my father had said, you know, sort of, because would laugh about rescuing me hanging by my neck. It's still so unbelievable in a way. No one talked about near-death experiences in the mid 80s. I never heard of it. No one talked about it. There was no name for it that I had heard of. And so it was an entirely unique thing, but it was so real and visceral, more real than what we're talking right now. It's more real than anything that ever happens. There are other experience. I had many other experiences after that, and I had a lucid dream that was along the same line, which we could talk about or whatever you want.
Well, let me
Uh,
ask you this.
yeah.
It sounded like you had your doubts.
Oh, yeah.
What was it that confirmed it for you?
Well, for one thing, I never forgot any detail, and the story never changed. Unlike all memories, everything was always the same. Every time I remembered it, everything I can run it in my mind and see it as I first remembered it with all the same feelings. So that's not like normal memories. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then I wrote to, I forget his name, Jeffrey something. He was a researcher of near-death experiences of children.
Well, I don't know. I know Jeffrey
Uh,
Mishlove, but he's kind
my
of
maybe I don't
he's
remember.
in New York. He's New York
Yeah.
based. He's a psychologist, I think, or psychologist, but he also has like a video show like I do. He's
Oh,
been
okay.
around a
I
long
don't.
time.
Yeah. This guy was a doctor
Oh,
who had been
oh, Dr.
researching the
Jeffrey Long.
could have been,
Might have been
but
him.
he was focusing on the near-death experience of
Hmm.
children. And years later, I had become a channel. I became clairvoyant. Um, Many of healing gifts all happened later. And I just kept trying to understand what had happened. So I contacted him and he sent me a questionnaire. And that's when I heard about the future life recall, right?
Sounds like
So
Dr. Jeffrey Long to me.
yeah, yeah. So he basically accepted it completely 100% as an authentic near-death experience. He didn't question it because there were too many common characteristics. And how could I have known that? Because there was no talk of near-death experiences when the recall happened. So then, and then at that time I began to make contact with one of those light beings
Hmm.
who called himself, it's not really him or her, the Solari, and they were the Solari group. And I channeled the Solari group for many years, and we led workshops and taught and did healings and many things. I taught internationally. I traveled. Many,
Wow.
many things. Yeah, many things happened.
Sounds
Um,
like you're not doing it anymore. And if so, why did you stop?
well, it's a good question. When I got onto I went to India. There was a time when um, I I became aware of Ramana Maharshi, Bhagavan, Sri Bhagavan, or Ramana. Difficult for Americans. That's okay. Um, and I went to India, and I had uh, it was Also beyond words, beyond words. That changed my life. And I met one of his original devotees, and he initiated me into the practice of self-inquiry. Self-inquiry was something that Ramana taught. He never called himself a guru. He wasn't like somebody advertising to be a guru. Just people wouldn't stay away from him. He tried to get away, but they just flocked to him. And so he, out of compassion, taught, and he was free. Beautiful, beautiful being. And so I learned about this teaching and this master, this enlightened being. And then as I went deeper into that path, the teachings of that path are that we don't seek out spiritual powers, telepathy, not telepathy as in, we don't seek telepathy,
So
we don't
don't
seek channeling,
so don't seek it out. If you have it, you
don't
have
seek it
it,
out.
but don't try to get it.
Don't try to get it, and if you get it, don't use it. If it
Why?
happens because it's glamorous and distracts
Oh, I
you
was
from the
gonna say for
real,
your
yeah,
ego.
yeah, for the ego. Exactly, exactly. And I have to say, to be honest, there was a lot of ego trip in my, because I came from a broken place and I suddenly had these magical powers,
Mhm.
and it gave me, just like being a video director and a movie writer and all the things I did, it gave me a false sense of importance, you
Right.
know, and that was not good for me. Although I was pure. I mean, people felt I was pure. It wasn't safe for me spiritually. And although I pray I did good, I pray with all my heart that it was all good. I knew in my heart that for me to really know the truth, I had to put all of that behind me.
So
For
you
me, I'm not talking about for anybody else.
and I don't mean to be insulting, but are you saying that you feel like all the channeling and stuff you were doing was more for your ego and not
No, no, no. I was profoundly affected by this near-death experience and then my spiritual path. But I can't deny that there was ego intermingled into
Mhm.
it. I was getting an ego. I was getting an ego boost. I was taught, when I was taught to channel and be a healer, the whole teaching I got was to root out this these false agendas, these negative agendas. And I spent 5, 10 years. That was the channeling. When I learned, it wasn't to read other people, or it was to look into myself so I could root out the shadow and the darkness, so I would become more aware of who I truly am, who we truly are. So yeah, no, I wouldn't say it was all that, but I can't hide and say it wasn't part of it.
Do you think that most channelers, or at least the information that they're getting and presenting, is really meant for them and not for everybody else? Because that's kind of that's
Mm.
the way I'm interpreting what the channeling was for you, that the messages were really for you.
Well, at first it was for me, but then as I began to get clearer and more confident, then I began to do it was more like therapy and healing. And there was some information involved, but we would do private sessions and groups. And um, so, in order to stay clear, I had to do this inner work. I was involved with the path work. I explored my shadow, and that still goes on to this day. So it was for me, but ultimately, there isn't really a separation between me, the channel, and other people. That's a false distinction. And I couldn't speak for other channels. I can't. I know many. I've traveled the world. I worked with um, many mediums in Brazil and the Philippines. I learned about psychic healing and psychic surgery, and I learned many things and met many people. And I will say that the many, many, but not all, were very driven by ego. And the channeling came out of a broken place within them, much in the same way as it was part of me. But I'm not here to judge anybody, and I can't really know the truth because I can't know the truth. I can't know for other people.
I guess whether you've had an NDE or you're a channeler or whatever, you're still flawed if you're here to to some extent.
It's possible to entirely dissolve the ego and still experience yourself with a body, with a body.
Right.
You don't think you're the body. People see you as a body, but like Ramana, he people would say, well, you have a body. He would say, you see me as a body. I don't experience myself as a body. I experience myself as pure consciousness. He used other words, but yeah. So it can happen. And that's the path that I was guided to.
I'm going to ask this question and I'll leave it up to you to answer it. But,
Okay.
one of the things that appears to be highly motivational for being a channeler is the ego, as you said. But what about the money?
Oh, I never made any real money.
You didn't?
No. And my guide was no, I didn't do it for that. No. If I had done it for that, I would have stopped because, what I was taught by my guide, I would say like, we're not, we, I did it out of service and joy. And there were never big numbers, ever, ever. I was a film director. I was a video director. I had an aromatherapy business. We had a center. Um, no. And one of the things that he said to me was, it's not about the numbers. It's about individual impact. That's what it's about. So for me, it was no, no.
You kind of remind me of one of my guests that sells books, and he said, the amount of money he makes from selling his books is like to go out and buy ice cream and stuff. You don't really make that much money.
Yeah, and I did so much of it for free. I was taught, and eventually Solari, my guide, said, don't even charge anybody. Do it. People would say, what are you doing? Why aren't you charging people? And I would say, because I'm not supposed to. I'm just here to do this.
Well,
So the money was not a big draw.
the fascinating thing to me is these are the three beings that were with you when you were a baby, right?
At least one was. At least
one was. So it's some sort of guide for you. And
yeah,
even though your ego was involved, this guide wanted this information to be given out through you.
yes. We had made an agreement a long time ago in the one incarnation that he had that we know about. So this was in Egypt. I was long ago. I've been to Egypt 5 times. I was really involved with Atlantis, and that the search for those ancient mysteries was extremely important to me in those days. I traveled to sacred sites.
Cool.
I did ceremonies, and so what he explained, people would say, "Who are you?" He would say, "It doesn't matter. I could say anything, and there's no way you can verify what I say to you. You can't verify it because you don't know. So if the information and the energy I'm sharing with you is helpful, make use of it. If it's not, put it on the shelf or walk away. We have no investment in you believing what we have to say."
You're saying
But
that as a channeler, there's no way to verify.
that's what he said. That's what he said about him, that he could say, I was this, I was a light being, I was this, I was that, but there was no way to verify it. Even though other mediums verified it. They didn't verify the story, but what he would do is people would say, well, tell me about you. And I'd say, I'm not important. I'm not here to talk about myself. I'm here to help you. You called me. I was called to you. We were called together. And that's why this is happening. So then one guy who I was writing a screenplay, I worked with him about a medium in Brazil called Zé Arrigo, who was a true psychic surgeon who worked with a knife and he did miracles. And so we were working on a screenplay about him. And he said one time to Solari, the guide, who were you? What was your struggle like? Did you have a struggle? He said, it's not important. And he just pestered him. and he finally said, okay, I lived in Egypt. I wasn't important. I met the channel in Egypt, and that's where we bonded and connected. And he didn't really tell. I later learned more about it, but it's just not very, very important. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
So I definitely don't want to say, and if I said it, I retract it. I can't know the motivations of other people. I'm not here to cast aspersions.
Right.
I'm not here to judge anybody else. I just know that I have feet of clay. I have feet of clay.
Right. Well, even
And
what we're getting from you, I feel like I'm getting a little bit of the behind the scenes of a channeler.
yeah, yeah, I could be completely, and I was taught, I was taught that while I was channeling, if I started to feel weird or have doubts, to go out of trance, tell the person what I was going through, be completely vulnerable, and then make sure they were okay with going forward. So I did it a couple of times, and each time they say, "Would you just go back? I don't want to hear from you right now. I want to talk to Solari."
Hmm.
So I was always very, very honest and straightforward, because that was my protection against it becoming an ego trip. I had to be vulnerable and honest.
Well, at least you can verify that channeling is real, right?
Oh yeah, no question. Not with everybody, but yes. And there are different kinds of channeling. There's channeling beings, there's channeling universal consciousness, there's all kinds of channeling. Music, sound, light, stories, you're a channel and what you do. So we have to expand our notion of channeling. But channeling is definitely not my main message at all. It's just, it was a phase of my life, but it's not where I'm at now at all. But I get why you would be interested. Yeah.
Well, I've had quite a few channelers as guests,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I never
Is this
really.
helpful?
I think it is, yeah, because I never really talked to them. Well, let me backtrack. All the channelers that are guests are currently channelers, and you know what I
Mm,
mean? Where you've
yeah.
been there, done that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I think you're more open to also, you know,
Mm.
give the behind the scenes like we're getting.
Well, I don't have any investment in it at all anymore. I know what was true for me. I know what wasn't true. I don't know what I mean by that. I mean, I guess what wasn't what I mean was, I knew that I had ego motives, but I was also, I guess I was very committed to service, and healing was my life. I studied modalities. That's why I traveled the world. I became an acupuncturist.
Hmm.
I gave many people a lot of time to help them, because I know what it's like to suffer. I'm disabled now. I've had Lyme disease for 40 years,
Hmm.
and I had it's a terrible psychological suffering. And my goal in this lifetime has been, had been, to be of service in that way.
What are your symptoms with your
Oh,
Lyme's disease? Like, when you said you're disabled, I mean, are you able to kind of function at the home, or you can't physically go to work, or what?
oh no, I can't work. I haven't been able to work for years. I've got neurological symptoms. I get severe brain fog, exhaustion, terrible chronic pain, crippling chronic pain, nausea, sleep apnea, digestive issues. There's many, many, many symptoms, and so I had to drop out of acupuncture school
Hmm.
because I was too sick to go. So I worked as an acupuncturist in the school for many years, but I couldn't complete. I completely lost everything, my life, my ability to work. I couldn't lead workshops, and now I have to have an attendant to help me, because I can't really function normally anymore.
Hmm. I've had like
So,
one, if not two, guests that had an NDE due to Lyme's disease.
oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think the ND wasn't. Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
Hmm. Or
Wow.
some kind of event related to it, at least.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, people are dying. We're dropping like flies. It's a massive epidemic. It's an epidemic. It's all over the world. Some people are estimating 20% of the population has it. It can cause many diseases.
And this is only from the bite of a tick?
No, it's transmitted through other bugs like spiders. There are two, the official story is it's only a tick bite, but
Mhm.
it's sexually transmitted. It's in the blood supply for the hospitals. It's in tissue samples. There's a story of a guy who who was injured his eye in a car accident, and they gave him a new, I think it was cornea. I don't know really. I think it was cornea or lens, and he died of a Lyme heart attack 2 days later.
Wow.
So this is all I'm deeply involved in this, deeply involved in this. And so I do now I am able to help people, with Lyme disease to some degree.
Have you produced anything in video or film that we may have seen on
No,
television or?
no, I did mostly commercials, music videos, fashion videos. I was one of the people who was involved in early adoption of fashion video. And then I wrote screenplays, but they were never produced. So I was in development and I wrote them, but they were never produced.
Hmm.
And then I've written other things and I'm working on a book about some of this. I hope I if it's God's will, the book will be written. The book or books.
Well,
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
what inspires you about your near-death experience when you look back on it?
The love and the peace and that there is no death of consciousness. The body is, we live in a dream, Jeff. This is a dream. It's a waking dream, but it's a dream and we're sleeping through it.
What is it about that reality that is so much different from ours that you say that this is a dream?
Well, I know it now from my own practice, but I knew it then because when I came back into the world, I was telepathic. I mean, I was sorry, clairvoyant, and the guides would like hover above me, and I'd swat at them, and they helped me a lot. And the difference is that in the space I was in, which I don't consider to be the ultimate space, the ultimate reality, that was still a sense of objects and things and you know individuated consciousness, even though it was all unified. But it's unified. There's no time. It's eternal. It's perfect. There's no suffering. There's only love. There's only peace. There's only joy. And the joy is overwhelming. I haven't mentioned that, but the joy of the love and of the peace and of the consciousness is overwhelming.
Let me ask you this because I just
Yeah.
remembered.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
before I brought you on, I was talking about this guest that I recorded the other day, and I
Okay.
forgot what we talked about. But she says that there is no dreaming. Consciousness never dreams. It's when you think what we call a dream, you're just waking up in another realm.
Yeah. I've heard that.
And and depending on the type of what we call dreams, or sometimes you go to the fourth dimension, sometimes you go to the fifth dimension. She was going over the different dimensions of what goes on and what we call dreams. So
Yeah.
now that you've had an NDE and you have probably dreamt when you go to sleep at night, are
Yeah. And
they?
I had
Would you?
multiple lucid. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So, well, I'm going to add to that. Maybe a lucid dream would be more like a fifth or sixth dimension, whereas a dream, like you're just doing stuff like we randomly do here, she
Yeah.
was kind of calling like a fourth dimensional existence. Does
Yeah.
that, now that you've dreamt and had an NDE and live here, do you think that she's right about all that?
I couldn't speak about another person's belief systems. I'm
Well,
not here. I can
right.
tell you what
Well, does
I've
that
come to believe.
resonate for you?
Let me tell you uh, how I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the world that we are in is created by our minds. There is no external world. Although in this world we have a shared sentient being experience. But it's created by our beliefs and our thoughts and our mind. The Vedas say that like a spider, we emit a web, we weave a web, and then we withdraw the tendrils of of things back into ourselves. So the idea is that we are an ego, not the body is an ego. There is an ego dreaming we have a body, imagining we have a body, imagining ourselves to be a soul and a mind, but we are not the soul and we are not the mind. So from the standpoint of the teachings that I understand, the world we appear to be in, we feel like we're in, is a dream of the mind in which we are unaware of who we are and what's truly going on. We're not aware of reality. A dream while we're sleeping is just a different version of that with less stability, but the same essential characteristics. So if you're hungry in a dream, you eat dream food and you get satisfied. Okay. Then there's something called deep sleep. That's when we're not dreaming. We're just sleeping. And that's the easiest way. That's one of the easiest way to understand that we're aware, but we don't have a mind. All we are is awareness. We don't remember it because we see ourselves as a mind. So it's like a blank, but in fact, we are aware while we're sleeping, and all we are is existence and awareness when
Well,
we're in deep sleep.
like, for example, when we are, most of the night that you're sleeping, I think you only start to dream when you get towards waking up. So
Yeah.
for 4 or 5 hours, you're just, you don't remember anything, and it's like you're
Yeah.
just blacked out. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? But
No, it only
well, during
seems like
that
a black.
blackout, yeah, you seem like
Yeah.
you're blacked out, but you just don't remember what you were up to.
Well, you weren't up to anything. You were just we're just existing.
But you
But
don't
because
remember
we
it.
identify as a mind, what could a mind make of non-mental phenomena? Okay. So then when we have a near-death experience, we're still in the subtle realms. And so I can relate to her idea of, she calls them dimensions. I'll use the word subtle realms,
Hmm.
astral planes. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Subtle matter, dream, So what happens, in that state is the illusion of the physical body and the physical world is because the awareness of the physical body is gone. I mean, not for everybody all the time, but in the deeper NDEs, I don't want to say that. In the NDEs where you don't have an experience of your physical body, your consciousness. So what I remember was I was aware, I could think, there were beings, objects. I'm not objectifying them, saying other beings could be thought of as objects, subject, object. And so it's it's a it's a pure experience of consciousness, but I still had the error of a false sense of being a mind, a soul mind. In India we say jiva, here we say soul or mind. Soul mind is what a guide would call it. Is this making sense?
Hmm. So I guess basically, from what I'm understanding, is all of this is a dream, and when we're so-called dreaming at night, it's still a dream, but not in a physical reality. It's still just an imaginary world.
Yes. Yes. And when you have a deep spiritual experience in a dream,
Hmm.
like I dreamed of my teacher Ramana. He
Hmm.
came to me in a dream when
Well, is
the
that still
devote
a dream, or are you outside of the dream world back on the other side, having an
in okay,
experience?
okay, this is great. This is great. So when we're in this waking dream, I'm going to call it, when our mind is emanating and creating this reality, right? We can have true experiences of our true self, and they're real. It's not diminished by the fact what's going on is we're purifying our minds, or we're tapping into a deeper level of our true self. So in a day and during a waking experience, when we have deep experiences of love, of non-personal reality, of peace, of limitless, of non-temporal experience, of a lack of space, all those, what we call peak experiences, transpersonal liminal experiences, that's when the mind, we're closer to reality. The same thing happens in a dream. So in those dreams, like a lucid dream or a deep spiritual dream, or one of love or profound devotion, those are real, those are closer to experiences of reality, of our true self.
Wow.
So all these spiritual experiences are us experiencing our true self, which is one without a second. There's no other thing but the one self, which people call God or Guru.
Right. Well, Stuart, this was a really, I am sorry, I'm going to have to run because I separated it into two guests, but this was an amazing conversation, very, very deep. I've kind of got to restart my brain for the next guest and pull myself out of this and start over, if that makes any sense to you.
I do. I've been an interviewer many times.
So, but it was such a pleasure having you on. I hope you should come back again on a Saturday night and we can continue this. It was a fascinating conversation and I really appreciate you sharing your experience with us. Is there anything that I can, let people know about what's going on for you? Is there anything you would like to share? Do you have a website or something that you're working on that you want people to know about, or a book or anything?
I'm hoping to write a book. I mean, I'm very sick physically and neurologically. I'm very poor and I need medical treatment, but I really would like to share. I'm happy to share with people. I don't have a lot of time and energy, so I'll give. I have a website. I'm sorry, a email address
Okay, yeah.
that I'll be happy to share. It's not my main one, but it's the one I would be happy to share with people. If they're nice, if they're going to be nice.
Oh yeah, my audience is nice.
Oh, I know. This is scary though. This is scary for me. I haven't been in public for 20
Well, you were
years.
fantastic.
Oh, thank you. You're being very kind.
No, I'm being truthful.
Okay, I hear that. I'll take that in.
So what's your email address?
Yeah, it's Jade, Jade, account. Jade account at proton.me.
Proton.me.
Yeah, it's Proton Mail.
Okay.
It's from Switzerland.
Yeah. I was going to say .me sounds like it's some other country.
Yeah, it's Switzerland. Let me just make sure I'm right about this.
All right.
Give me just 1 second,
sure.
And I will make sure that that's the actual. And we didn't even talk about healing at all. Not well, we did sort of, but.
Well, like that was always another Saturday.
Okay, great. I just think I think you're the bomb.
Oh, so thank
you. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I love your show.
I've
been a fan for a long time.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Credit where credit's due. Yeah, it's Jade account.
Jade account. Maybe we can type that in the chat. Okay. Can we type that in the chat? Does that bother you?
Yeah.
You okay?
Oh no, that's fine. That's
Jade,
fine.
JADDACCOUNT. Jade account. What?
Oh no, let me do that again. JADE ACCOUNT at proton.me.
Proton.me.
Yeah, it's a Swiss. It's
PROTON. Proton.
Yeah, like neutron, proton.
TON.
Proton, neutron, electron, like that. So Jade account at proton.me. It's a great one because it's encrypted.
All right.
All right, let me come back to you.
It doesn't matter. It's an email address. There we go. I think we got it in there now. Jade account at proton.me. We got you in there, so if people wanted that, you might get a ton of correspondence after this. And also, if you ever feel up to it, join my Discord. It's totally free. It's kind of like Facebook, but you
Oh,
get a
okay.
free profile. And then I have like chat rooms, but you can you can type chat, you can verbally chat, you can video
Mm,
chat. People talk about all kinds of stuff. There's about five or six
mm.
hundred people in there. So if you ever fill up to it,
Ah,
if you do it, just contact me, and that not only for you but for everybody watching. You contact me,
yeah.
and I will give you the passcode to get in because
Ooh.
it's a
Ooh.
secret club.
That's a secret club that
Yeah,
no one knows about.
right.
Well, I would be honored, and I feel very blessed to have had this experience with you.
Thank
And
you.
I just want to say to everyone that we're all the same, no one's special, and we're all just on this path together.
Yeah. All right, Stuart, I got to run. Thank you so much again for being with us. We really appreciate you and have a great rest of your weekend. God bless
Okay,
you.
back at you. God bless you.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, that was Stuart. Let's give him a big round of applause. And next up, we got our next guest for the evening. And I need to take a 2-second, 10-second break real quick. I'm here, but I just I need to do some administration stuff. All right, my next guest here is Tom Matt, and he should be joining us here shortly.
I am here.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, how are you
Welcome.
doing?
Great. Thanks for asking. Where are you based out of?
I'm in Atlanta, actually.
Oh, wow. I used to live in Atlanta. What part?
Alpharetta?
Alpharetta. I used to live in Marietta.
Yeah, okay,
You
great.
know
Right down.
Life. You know Life College, Life
Yeah,
University.
of course. Everybody knows Life
That's where
College. We've lived here for a
I
while.
graduated there in '94.
Okay, great. Yeah, you've been here. That's great. Are they still around?
I guess. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going strong. I keep a license. I don't practice anymore, but I was there. I used to practice in Athens, Georgia. I miss Athens. I miss Atlanta too, actually. Atlanta's a great city.
Yeah, it is. I went to school in Athens. I actually graduated from University of Georgia back a long time ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
In
Yeah.
journalism degree. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool. I didn't go to school there, but I don't know what it's like anymore, but I was there in the mid '90s, and it was a great town. It was a
Yeah,
great
it's good.
place. And Atlanta, I miss the metropolitan of it. Everything comes to Atlanta.
Yeah, I'll say. And the suburbs are nice too. And the weather. You can't argue with the weather, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. All right, well, let me tell everybody about you. I'm just meeting Tom right now as I met Stuart earlier, so this is a new format for me. Tom, I used to just have anybody randomly show up, but a lot of randomly agitators were showing up and causing trouble, so I canceled it for a while. Now I'm back just having guests. And I'm happy to have you. We're excited to have you. And I'll say Tom is a successful marketing executive who broke his brain with drugs. His illness opened new pathways in his mind. He now easily sees connections and reimagines information and data in ways that would not have made sense to him before. His Upsight vision offers insights into mathematics and physics and that he has previously had little interest in. And one last thing, and that is more spectacularly, he also sees and experiences contact from non-human intelligent beings. He's on a mission to connect with a research team and create technology to triangulate these holographic images and messages back to their source. So, let's start with a little bit of how you broke your brain and then you healed yourself.
Yeah, let's do that. And then I'll tell you what it looks
Yeah.
like, because getting the details is good. Yeah, let me give you a little backstory. About 12 years ago, actually 12 years ago, I was in Atlanta. I had a young family, 2 young kids. I had a successful marketing agency. And I had a history of drug use, but I had 5 years clean and sober. This time, again, when I picked up, and Coke was my drug of choice, I started having completely psychotic beliefs. Now, at the time, I didn't think they were psychotic. I thought they were true. Like, I thought my children had been replaced by alien doppelgangers. I thought my business was a front for some kind of government operation. Now, I thought this so vividly and so believably that I emptied out my bank accounts. I filed divorce from my wife, and I walked out on my family. In fact, I even tried to burn to burn my house down.
Wow.
I wrote a book about all of this. It's called Jesus Goes to Hollywood, a Memoir of Madness. The reason it's called that is because for a while I even thought I was Jesus. And the reason this is important to get the truth out there with this whole backstory is because there was a real deep psychosis. There was definitely something wrong. And more likely than not, it was brought about from the drug use.
Is that something that Coke usually causes? Because I thought it's just kind of like a overpowered stimulant.
It can paranoia, but something with me activated something different. Clearly paranoia is associated with Coke, and whatever it did with me, it did something not typical. But I've come to find out after these 12 years, in fact, other people have had these same experiences. We'll get to that in a minute. So it was so bad, right? I walked out on my family and I spent all my money. I'm flying around, going to California, going to St. John's, and I'm having these psychotic delusions, thinking all these things. Finally, all my money runs out, and I'm in California, Santa Monica Beach, and I'm like, you know what? Something else is wrong with me other than addiction, because I have all these psychotic thoughts. A drug, people who are addicted to drug, they want to keep their money so they can buy more drugs. My executive area, the planning area of my brain was not working, right? So I had nothing left. So I checked myself into a psychiatric teaching hospital, and I slowly got better. Okay. So by the end of that year, it was almost a year to the date. I'm clean and sober. One day I'm sitting on the couch, right? And I look over and I see 4 distinct visions. And I see these in holographic forms. I'll describe this in a minute, but there are these 4 things: the back of a dinosaur, blood cells moving through a body, a slot machine, and the Grim Reaper. So I am coming off of this psychosis, and by the way, I'm 11 years clean and sober, so I haven't picked up. So my brain is completely normal. Well, it's not normal, but it's completely clean and sober. And one of the reasons I did that, I wanted to connect with my family. And by the way, the book has a happy ending. We're connected and better and closer than we've ever been. But I also know nobody would take me seriously if I was still using, and I claimed to have these visions. So over time, that's what happened, right? I'm on the couch and I see these things. Now I am like, when this happens, like, all right, I need to find out what these visions are, right? I want to find out if anybody else has them. So I start on this journey about researching hallucinations, hypnagogic hallucinations, every kind of hallucination you can think about, right? And I used to call them hallucinations, but they're really not, because the definition of a hallucination is something you think is there and it's real and it's true. I know these things are not true. I know they're just there and they occupy space and time. So let me describe what they are and what they look like so your listeners can have a clear understanding of how vivid this is. Most people have seen the movie Iron Man, and there's a scene where Tony Stark is in his office and he's got the whole holographic universe at his fingertips. That's how vivid this is, right? Now, if you've not seen Iron Man, there's a movie called The Queen's Gambit, where the protagonist is laying on her back and she's figuring out the moves while she's in bed, and she can see these 3-dimensional holographic images on the ceiling. So those are both very good examples. And if you've not seen one of those movies, most people have seen the movie Star Wars, where the holographic scene where R2-D2 has the Princess Leia, the little video of her talking to him. Now, the reason I don't start with that one is because they're not in full color. They're about one color, and they're tinted with purple, blue, or something like that. And let me go on a little bit too, because I promise you, somebody's like, that's a vivid's mind's eye. And it's not a mind's eye. It's something different. Now, a mind's eye if we're driving down the car, let's say, Jeff, you and I are in the car and I'm driving and we're having a conversation. I'm like, hey, Jeff, do you remember a scene from a movie? And you picture it in your mind, or I'll be, I remember see the poster, the Jaws poster. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that as a kid. Well, I can drive the car and we can have that conversation. If I am talking and singing with Upsight, I can't do something else. I need to sit at a table, or sit, I could do it in the back seat of the car. I could do it in the passenger seat. I shift my attention, I focus my eyes, and there these images are. Now, it's what's cool about it. It could be directly related to what you and I are talking about, Jeff. It could be if you and I were talking about how to make a pizza, I could look over and boom, there's some ingredients of a pizza. But it could just as easily be something completely unrelated, like an elephant riding a bicycle, right? So now once I've engaged with these images, once they have my attention, I can change them with a thought. So once I'm like looking at it in my eyes office, I see, I'm like, okay, change that elephant into a mouse and make the mouse, ride a motorcycle out of the circus tent. So this is how specific and detailed it is. And I do want to say one more thing too, because people always ask, how do you know it's internal or external? And I'm going to answer that because it's important. It's both actually. But the reason we know it's external, the people we've studied it, is 3 reasons. Number 1, my eyes get tired focusing on these Upsight images the same way your eyes would get tired after reading a book or after seeing a movie. Number 2 is there's something called smooth pursuit eye movements, where something is moving across like a field. If you're following a gazelle across the field, you follow it with your eyes. And if you're only way you can follow it, if it's really there, you cannot fake smooth pursuit eye movements. If you do, you get like a glitch in your eyes. They jump ahead. And 3, this way is the most fascinating to me. My pupils dilate when something is arousing or exciting, right? So you cannot willfully dilate your pupils. They've proven this time and again. It has to be from an external stimuli.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you
Please,
1
yeah,
minute
please,
because I want to recap and make sure that I'm on the same page with you. So you have the ability to look up and to the right, right?
It doesn't matter. Look anywhere.
So it doesn't matter, but you've got to turn your eyes and look up.
Yeah, sure.
And when you look up, it's not that you're imagining things or accessing memories. You are physically seeing something there, as you said, externally.
Without a doubt.
And do you feel that somehow the treatment that you went for the mental condition that you had gave you this ability, or gave you this ability on top of, it's kind of like I would say like you were on coke for a long time, and then maybe it was like you were walking around with weights on your back, and then you took all this off your back and you stopped, and maybe you created new neural pathways, or
so that's
I'll let you answer that. What gave you that ability?
So the doctors are like, something was opened up, and that makes sense, neural pathways, and that makes sense. And I want to say something else too. I had 2 MRIs, right? There is no damage to the brain. There's no strokes, there's no lesions, and there's no tumors. So nothing is physically wrong with my brain. So I want to be clear about that. So, because, I've seen enough movies, when you have this ability, there's some curse with it and there's a downside. So from that perspective, from a neurological perspective, there's an all clear from the doctors, and they did not have answers. They know it's not a pathology. They know there's something wrong.
Whatever you do see, does it give you any value? Or is it just random images? Like you said, you saw a dinosaur, the back of a dinosaur, and something else.
So yeah, this is what has been my exploration for the last dozen years. Okay, so it can help from time to time. Sometimes I'll look over there and it's like something that it'll show me something, and this is a ridiculous example, but it's kind of a precognition part. Like, and I have to figure out what's precognitive, and a lot of times I can't. I'm not an expert, by the way. Let me take a sidebar here. I think this is a psychic ability, right? I think it because of the visual side of it. we'll call it psychic now, but there's a telepathy element, there's a precog, there's a lucid dreaming, and there's an astral projections. They're all elements of it. I'm not an expert in any of those fields, but it touches on all of them. What I bring to those things is the vividness of the images. So back to the precog, I'll see something like, again, this is silly, but it's happened, a shopping cart hitting my leg, and the next day it's going to get hit. Now, that is ability to do something, but it's completely useless. You know what I mean? I don't know when it's going to happen. I've seen a bridge collapse. 2 hours later, I read about it online, but I've seen just as 100 other things that never happened. So there's an element to that that I can't control. Now, from a far of a usefulness category, and by the way, I call this the organic metaverse, or I call it a hidden biosphere or an invisible biosphere. Maybe it's where the Akashic records are stored. Maybe it's the noosphere. I don't know. But I see these elements interacting with our three-dimensional world. And let me give you an example, a clear example of it, something that we all see. It's an illusion, but we all see double rainbows, right? You see a double rainbow, you've got the smaller inner circle, which is dark, and you've got the outer circle, which is a little lighter, and it's diffused light. And the colors are going one way on the one rainbow, and they're going the other on the other rainbow. From my perspective, I can actually get a side view, right? I can get a side view of something that is impossible because there's no such thing as a side view of an illusion. And what I see with this is these, I call it dark matter elements. And I use them as placeholders because I don't know what it is, but I see something there. There's a funnel, squeezed funnel in the first rainbow, and there's another funnel going away externally. So it's like it squeezed the first one, the next one, it can't get through and it goes back. It's almost like a Doppler effect type of event. So the double rainbow, which is two circles to most of us, with this is a funnel, two funnels. Now, is it useful? I'm trying to find that out now. I think there's an element I see interacting with DNA, which are that don't have normal elements from if you look under a microscope. So a microscope, excuse me. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Can you do this at any time at will, or does it just happen spontaneously? Anytime. Like, okay, look up right now. What do you see?
Great. Okay. It's good. Actually, let me leave my glasses on. Let me take my glasses because I have to focus. And this is the same thing I saw. I did another podcast. There's a gorilla there's a test. It's doing a test, a child's test with the circles, putting it on a child's toy. So that's what I'm seeing right now. That's funny. That same thing came up when somebody else asked me to do that the other day. It's very unusual for the same thing to come up again. So is that related to this? I don't know. You know what I mean? I can't consciously think of it. Maybe there's some listener, because there's a big synchronicity element about it. Maybe some listener is at home right now looking down at their child's toy and their kid's playing with that toy, and that person's going to have a synchronistic moment. I don't know.
So
I just can do it on demand.
You've kind of got to, though, focus. It's not like it's something that's happening in your vision and it's kind of annoying to you.
No. That's a great question too. It doesn't annoy me, you know? Now, when I first had it going to sleep, it was a little troubling, but I've since learned, again, I've done this for 12 years. All I have to do is imagine or visualize a pond or a stream, and there it is. I'm literally watching a stream and it helps me go to sleep.
Do you think you're seeing into different dimensions or something?
Well, I do. I absolutely do think I am seeing a hidden biosphere that certain beings on this planet can see, maybe some animals. When I started doing research, there's a word called umwelt. An umwelt is the way a biological organism moves through the environment, right? You and I move through, we're all on planet Earth, but the way you and I see Earth and live on Earth is different than a worm who doesn't have any vision, right? And it's different than a bird. So whatever happened to me, my umwelt got bigger, and the way I see the world and the things I interact with are more than they were before.
Did this happen before you got clean or only after you got clean?
Well, at the same time, when this happened, it was like an aha moment, right? The last time I saw this, and I hadn't picked up since 2012, December 2012.
So then perhaps Could it be a result of a drug interaction?
Well, it could be. Again, there's no, I don't know. I don't know. And again, I can't, I've gotten so many clinical answers and they don't know. So I stopped looking for clinical answers. And what I started doing is emailing academics. I started emailing specialists in vision specialists, hip, hallucination specialists. And I was supposed to go to Smith Kettlewell Eye Institute in San Francisco in 2019 because they're doing some kind of research on areas of the brain with 3 dimension. And by the way, like there's no visual, there's no image topological space manifold that I cannot break apart in my field of vision and put it back together. So they were going to see what areas of my brain were lighting up in an MRI. So they were very intrigued with that. COVID happened, the lab director changed, that fell apart. In the meantime, a couple of years ago, I emailed Dean Radin at the IONS Institute of Noetics. Now, they were very interested in getting me up there, but they weren't going to get me an fMRI. They were going to study the EEG waves to see what was going on against a control and while I was doing Upsight. So last year, and that's probably why we're on this podcast now, last year, I went out there and there's a peer review paper waiting to be public, waiting for peer review on archive, which should go out sometime this year. And it showed a clear distinction between memory recall and Upsight. The brain waves from alpha, gamma, theta, all of them were different. The biggest difference, and this blew my mind, was the alpha waves. Now, the reason that blew my mind, Jeff, is because when you think about alpha waves, you're in a relaxed state, right? So if we had EEG right now, your waves probably would be the same as mine. And if we showed a picture of the Eiffel Tower and we both remembered it, our brain waves would look similar. But when I see it with the same image with Upsight, the alpha waves, there's a lot of activity, and that's typically a state where there's not a lot of activity. So it almost like lights up like a bell when it should be very calm. Now, it's funny too, because I thought when I went out there, I was like, because somebody asked me, they're like, what are you expecting? And I was like, you know what I think is going to happen? I think the theta waves, which are the dream waves, I thought that's going to light up. And that was actually less so. So that was a surprise to me.
What about the gamma waves?
Similar. They were closer to theta. The alpha waves was the one that everyone was like, damn, this is intriguing. I mean, don't get me wrong. In the scientific paper, they talk about all the waves, but the alpha waves, and there's a blog on ions written by a neuroscientist, and they use that image of the control memory recall against the alpha and against the Upsight, and it's so obvious. Yeah, so all of them were affected. The alpha was like beeping. Bah, bah.
Well, you clearly are able to manage this, but if somebody else in the world that couldn't manage it, do you think it could make them psychotic or schizophrenic?
So that's the reason I talk about this, and the reason I have been on a quest, for lack of another word, is to get research, is because I do think other people have it. And I do think they don't know what to do with it. And not only do I think it, I know it now because I get emails every time I talk about it. Somebody emails me, said, thank you for naming something I've had. I didn't know what it was. So I'll get like 5, 6 emails every time I get on a podcast. And that makes me feel really good. And people think they are, in fact, going crazy. You know, I'm like, no, you're not. You know, this is something that can be managed, right? You can engage them. Now, sometimes I want to say something too. There's scary images, right? Sometimes there are really anything you can imagine, even though it's not the imagination, anything you can imagine or have seen in a horrible movie or anything, there's been something like that shown to me. And you don't have to engage it. It's just like listening to somebody, you don't have to look at it, you just look away. And it doesn't stay. It's ephemeral, it goes away.
So well, in the beginning, I said that you are experiencing contact from non-human intelligent beings. Are you ever seeing a being there trying to communicate with you?
Absolutely. So I love telling this story because this was when I first started doing it. And you're familiar with C5, how people try to contact non-human
Mm-hmm.
intelligence. There's a protocol.
Right.
So I was doing this before I knew there were protocols, right? And when I was high and wasted and had my fear and loathing summer, unreliable narrator, things would show up too. But that's not, you can't take that for gospel because I was so wasted. But since then, one of the first experiences I had, I'm sitting there looking off into space, and I don't know if you want to call this remote viewing or astral projection. The reason I don't know, I think it seems more remote viewing because I saw a spaceship. I was looking inside of the spaceship. And keep in mind, everything I see is a holographic image. It's not like they're real. It's not like you know what I mean? It's not like they're these beings and you can smell them or anything like this is a complete holographic image. Anyway, they were about a dozen of them on a ship around a circle, right? And they were remote viewing, I thought what they were doing was looking at an empty table, but I realized they were remote viewing a town, and they were doing it as a group, and the eyes were following the people in the town. And when it got out of and they were gray aliens, by the way, when it got past one, the other one would pick it up with their big eyes. So that was wild. But the wildest part about that is that two of these grays turned to look at me and they started walking towards me, and I jumped out of it because I'd never experienced anything like that before. So that was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever seen. Now, sometimes the gray aliens, again, I'd be working on a math problem or thinking about looking at a manifold, and they would come in and they would be a nuisance. Now, I don't know what their objective is. I don't know where they come from. I have no idea, but they would be a nuisance and try to stop me from thinking about it. I don't know what the payoff is for that, but it absolutely happens. And it happens less so now. It happens less so now. Maybe because I know when they're there, I don't want to pay attention. But funny enough, when I was at Ions, and I wrote about this in a Twitter thread, when I was doing these controlled tests, I did 200 tests over a couple of days. While I was looking at the image, a gray alien was there again, and I had to ignore it because I didn't want it to influence the results of the tests, and it went away. But if the circumstances were different and we set up another test, another protocols, there could be, I don't know what it would be because I hadn't thought about it deeply enough, but every time I do something like this, they show up. Maybe we can find out where the image, like I said, triangulate the image back to its source. It's got to be coming from somewhere. I don't know where.
Have you ever been able to use this ability for your own benefit?
So when you say that, yes, it helps me make decisions, right? It doesn't show me, it will not show me who the winner of the Kentucky Derby is. It will not show me the winner of a football game because I've tried again and again and again. First couple of months, I tried all the time. I'm like, you know what? Learn, you're not an idiot, Tom. It doesn't care about that, and it's not going to give you this information. Move on from that. But it's really weird too, because this what gets into the thing, even though it's showing me something, and it doesn't always show the truth. I want to be clear about that. There's a trickster element. It's not honest. Even though the image is clear, it may show something that's not true or correct, which is bizarre, but that's just the way it is. But I get a feeling about decisions I make. So I know whether I should do something or not, I believe based on this. Not because it shows me go down path A, but I will think about some things and I'll get a feeling. I'm like, okay, this is the path I should take. So it's indirect, you know what I mean? It's not like turn here, but there's an element of that to this.
Give me one moment. Let me see. I think I have some questions here. A question from the audience. Have you seen the machine elves in this state? And those are the ones, wait. And he says he doesn't mean the elves that come from the DMT thing. Have you seen anything like that?
Well, but I think they are the same. So I don't know which ones he means.
Right.
So
yeah.
There was one time I saw this is wild. I saw what you would think of a diving platform in the middle of a lake floating across this invisible biosphere, and all these elves were on it. And they saw me, right? And they're sitting there waving and stuff, and they were it was crazy. You would think I was on drugs at the time. They were these little machine elves. And that's the first time, and probably the only time I've seen machine elves. Now, he may be talking about something else, and I don't know if he is.
Right, and maybe he'll comment here. It's on a time delay. Now, since you've been talking to the traditional medical establishment about this, there's none of these guys that will just say you're just hallucinating or you're making it up.
Well, no, well, everything I told you in the beginning about how it's external. No, of course there's an element to that. That's why I went to IONS to get this test. Again, the EEG, I can't make the EEG things the results. I mean, maybe somebody could. I don't know.
Right.
I've never heard of it.
Well, yeah, you definitely can't do the pupil thing.
Right, exactly. So there's definitely an element of that going in, but there's no payoff. I'm not a psychic. I don't make money on this. I want to find out. Let me tell you what I think is going to happen. Somebody else is going to come forward with the same ability at the same strength I have. We're going to sit in the same room and we're going to be able to communicate non-verbally with this. I believe that.
That would be amazing.
I think that's going to happen.
If you can get, someone else who has the same thing and you put you two together. Yeah.
And, talking about DMTs and ELVs, there's the group hallucinations, right? There's stories, there are anecdotes of men tripping. They all see the same thing. And they're like, do you see that? Yeah, they all trip out and 7 guys are all high and they come down. You can't reproduce that because they're all high. Now, if I was in a place like that, I'm the control. I'm not on drugs. Now, what if I see it, I focus it in and they all see it? Now you're off to the races on another kind of, okay, what's going on here? Let's study that more. Let's study that some more.
All right. I already got someone looks like here in the comments that says, this is exactly what's been happening to me my entire life. Please help.
Tell them to send me an email.
All right. How do they contact you? You just said an email.
My email is tomatte@me.com.
All right.
Yeah. And I can't help in any way except for to talk about it. Right. Yeah, let's be honest about that. Yeah, I can help you to alleviate the fears that you're not going crazy. I can definitely help you with that.
I wonder if this person or if anybody else that if you've talked to that have the same condition, did they have a history of using drugs?
That's a great question, Jeff. And yes, a lot of times they'll say they've done stimulants, but not all the time. Not all the time, Jeff. Some people are born with this and they just ignored it. Nikola Tesla, he had the ability to see all of his inventions fully formed before he built them. He had an element of this. Now, a lot of the people that reach out to me, I ask them one question. I say to them, okay, so if you're seeing it, can you change it with a thought? And I have not had anyone say, yes, I can change it with a thought. I kind of think it's like singing, right? We can all sing. Well, I can't. Most people can carry a tune, but most of us are not Frank Sinatra or Celine Dion, right? So whatever I have an extremely strong, gifted ability. And again, I want to find other people because, again, every time I talk about it, somebody comes forward and says, this is what I have, and nobody can ever get answers. So
do you think that we live in some sort of simulated environment and you're seeing through it where everybody else can't?
I am definitely there's no doubt that I'm seeing something more. Is it a simulation? I don't know. Is it holographic? Yes. So I could speculate. All I know is that when I think about consciousness, if you study history of conscious philosophers, if I studied philosophy before and I was a consciousness expert like Daniel Dennett or all these people, and this happened to me, everything I would have thought before, you got to start over. Because everything's changed. There's so much more to think about, and all your things you take for granted or all their baselines. You're like, wait a minute, there's so much more. Again, the mathematical elements to my thing, because I became obsessed with math, and I started doing tons of research on math. And the mathematicians. I am not a mathematician at all, but I got pretty good at undergraduate math. And I got really good at visual spatial. I mean, I call myself a visual spatial super ninja. There's nothing I can't see and fold and bend. And this is really interesting too. Over time, whatever this non-human intelligence or universe is guiding me to, I had these math problems. I built this piece. Once this piece was done, I was given new math problems, built another piece. So I've got this coordinate system fully built in my mind in Upsight, that if I decided to take the time, I could create a software. If I got the right mathematicians, the right coders, whatever it would take, the right, designers for that, I could build it. I haven't put the effort into it, but it's that clear. Kind of like Tesla said he built a, alternating current. He saw it. This is that. It took me a long time to get here, but I have it 100% built. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's there.
Who coined the term Upsight? You?
My wife, she's like, she goes, "You're always looking up," and I loved it. When I said, because there's nothing like this. This is so specific. Holographic images and influencing and communicating with them. It's holographic images. Yeah, she said you're always looking up to the right. That's why she said Upsight. You're always looking up when you do it. And I used to think it'd have to be dark. I used to think I had to have my eyes closed. I finally realized I just need a blank wall. I don't need all this stuff interfering with it. It does it all the time, but it's easier to focus on when you have a blank wall.
Do you recall during one episode of using that you had some sort of, change happen to you? Like you were doing coke one day and all of a sudden you had an experience that was far different from any other one, where all of a sudden something changed within you?
No, but I had a bunch of those in my year of psychosis. In my book, Jesus Goes to Hollywood, there's so many episodes about that over time they built up. And I got in a car wreck, right? And while my car was a DUI, of course, and while my car was flipping, this is bizarre to me. So this is a weird event, but I don't know if it's like what you're talking about. I instead of screaming like you were scared, I screamed, "I'm Job, I love you, Eve." That was even bizarre to me at the time, right? "I'm Job, I love you, Eve." And I'm upside down in the car. I'm like, where did that come from? I mean, I wrote about that so specifically because it was so nonsensical, but it was also so specific. So there are a bunch of things like that. And I was on St. John's. I spent a month on the island of St. John, and I built this gigantic, I thought was a map of this alien galaxy using the fan over my bed. I hung strings, rope, clothes, drawings. The housekeeping people thought I was lunatic, because I was. They just emptied the trash and they stayed out of the room. So there was a lot of psychotic moments throughout that year, but there wasn't not one specific thing like a before and after.
The person in the chat that said earlier that she's been having this her entire life, she said, "Just talking about it would help tremendously. Thank you for the email. And yes, I have a history of heavy drugs."
There you go. Yeah, I think something opens up. I think something opens up. And you know what I think too? I'll tell you that I've thought about this a lot. Our people that do stimulants, again, not just them, but we're also our climate change, our environment. And even if you don't believe in climate change, our environment is changing, right? Our environment is changing. It's different. I think those things in itself are connecting people to, again, this invisible or hidden biosphere that some of us can see. Yeah.
I've had a near-death experience guest talk about that after her experience, she could see something. I think she sees it all the time in the sky, like something mechanical that's always up there, like something broke down, or maybe the simulation changed for her or whatever, but now she can actually see it. But that's obviously a different causality than drugs, but I'm still just trying to, it's kind of the same what you have, but different is what I mean.
No, I think so. I think it's all related. I think it's a glitch in the matrix, whatever something like that. What my goal is, and the reason I connected with Ions is, we talk about new age, we talk about psychics. I want to use our old-fashioned science to get more people interested in it, because I think if traditional academics, for people say, "Oh, don't study this, none of it's real," if we can get some benchmarks from traditional science and EEG, more people will get interested and will realize our human potential, which is so much more than we think. think. You know, we are conditioned to think that we can't do these extraordinary things, which clearly we can. But it's scary too, because if you have this ability and you have no teacher, you're like lost. As soon as you see some demon in your field of vision, I'm out. I'm out. You know, you're scared to death. You know, you're if you go to church and you see a demon, you're like, you're never going to do it again. I mean, I've had people say that. They said, oh, I had this once, I saw a demon, I never went back. Now, this is what I've learned. The demon, and I've seen tons of them, they melt away. They're like a front. Right? It's almost like when a lizard does the big fanning of the thing, they go away. There's something else behind that whatever the simulation people running it don't want us to see. So it's less scary if you stay there. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do that, especially if you're high, because if you're high and you see these things, forget it. I mean, I was run out of 2 hotel rooms in my book because I was so wasted. And I thought, I mean, I literally left all my clothes, everything in the hotel room, and I flew to the other side of the globe because I thought I saw a demon. No joke. No joke.
Do you think that the veil is just, well, here's the question I had. I had a question for you and I forgot it and I remembered. Do you think it's possible that if you called on like your guardian angel or guardian spirit or some sort of spirit that's there for protection, that it would make any sort of change? Have you tried that at all?
I definitely feel protected by something. I've been told by them. Yes, there's something protecting me. But that said, I don't tempt anything. You know, I don't do careless or foolish or things, and I stay grounded in my spirituality, which is you know, light. I don't do any of this dark magic stuff. I don't. And I feel grounded by whatever this thing is, and I feel protected by it in this realm, you know, and even making the choices, you know, I was talking about earlier, I don't get presented bad choices anymore. You know, I don't get presented, and my life is pretty good, and it's grounded, and I feel, and when I say feel, kind of know that there's something that's got my back, for lack of another words, in this realm, in our 3-dimensional world, and while I'm surfing the organic metaverse, right? And if something comes up, oh, let me tell you this. This is really, really interesting. So there's a remote viewing element, right, to this. So I can see. Let's say I pick a target of Area 51, right? Everyone wants to see what's in Area 51, or anybody, not everyone, but people that are curious about UAPs. So I'm flying over and I get down and there's a guard dog. There's it's classic. This isn't real, but what does it present? Dobermans with the collars on and these soldiers in front. Now, I don't think that's really there protecting Area 51. I think what this ability is telling me stay away, right? The Epstein suicide. I can't see that. I'm not privy, and this is a survival, so it will not let me see anything that could put my person in danger. It's almost like we're smart enough, if you put your hand towards a stove, right? It gets hotter, you're going to stop. This is like that. Or if you walk into a toxic environment, you're poisoned, you're going to turn around. This is like that. The flip side is there's another side, like let's use another, not touching, let's use the scent of smell. Like I said, if you walk into a room and there's cookies there, you smell them baking. There's a lot of times I'm drawn to something too because of that. So those are related to other senses, but this is, I think, for survival. I think this is like, I do think it's a mutation, by the way. We didn't talk about this. I do think it's a mutation. Maybe it was brought on by drugs, maybe it happened, but it's a mutation for our human survival, for whatever we need it for, but certainly for mine.
I wonder if 2 people, you and a woman who both have this ability now, had a baby, would it go through the DNA and the baby would have it without using drugs?
Excellent question. I don't know. Yeah, you know what I think though? I think there's somebody out there. I think younger people have this ability. And so here you go. Why do I think that? Because I feel it, right? I feel this. I just feel it. It's like, why would I feel it? I don't know. It's just, I'm connected to something. I'm connected to something, and I feel that it's out there. And we've got TikTok, we stare at our phones, right? And we've got these new, the Apple new visor. Something is going on with our vision about getting focused. And I think that is helping this move along. When I first, my year of psychosis, I had my headphones in all the time, the kind that you have on now, the old school kind with the thing. And I was looking at my phone a lot, and I think my brain kind of got conditioned. It was almost like a muscle, my eyes using it. Now, I think you might have to have this ability, but it might be like doing your vocal cords. It might be like going la, 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 testing your vocal cords. Again, I don't know. This is so new. That it's just so new. There's nothing in the UFO history or any kind of history about anyone with a disability. And please prove me wrong. Send me a story, please do, because I haven't found it, and the researchers I talked to haven't. Please send me something. I would love to know it somewhere.
When you were doing it earlier, why did you take off your glasses?
Well, because these are for the computer, and that's a good question. The wall's about 6 feet away, so my eyes rest on the wall.
Do you feel like when you're looking at the wall, it's like it comes in through your peripheral vision, or you're kind of distracting your eyes or something?
No, great, good stuff. It can absolutely. I could be looking at the wall, and there could something come in like from the other room, literally like a frisbee could fly across. It's extraordinary. It's unbelievable. I have no answers. I have more questions than answers.
I wonder after watching this podcast, people are going to start looking up at the wall and see if they can get something to happen.
Well, if you can, right. If you can change it, please email me. Again, I would love for a handful of us to go back to ions and do more research. Again, I would love for a handful of us to get into a room and see if we can communicate non-verbally, non-sign language using Upsight. I would love that.
Someone in the chat was asking if you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, I have 2 videos on it. I have one, you can find it, Tom Matt. It's Upsight Vision. Just look up Upsight Vision. There's a picture of an eye on it. You can't miss it. And my Twitter handle is Tom, TOMEMATTE, if you want to follow me there.
Has Ions come up with any conclusion of what's going on for you?
No.
And for those, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, for those who are wondering what we're talking about, that's the Institute for Noetic Sciences, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So they don't, I will tell you this, one of the guys that ran the EEG, his name is Arno, I can't remember his last name. He's done 160 of these. He's like the Mozart of EEG tests, right? He writes the books that other students use. He said that the results are some of the most unambiguous results of a success that he's ever seen. So while I don't know what their conclusions are, I know they're extremely interested in doing more tests. That's what I can tell you, and learning more.
Have you experimented with meditation and then trying it, or any other
when I
things?
meditate, and you know what's funny? I read an article 6 months ago about, and this blew my mind. These people, and again, these meditators that are thousands of hours of meditation, their guru they would meditate, and there's sometimes that a gray would show up or an alien would show up, and they would tell the guru, and the guru said to ignore it. I was like, wait, how is that possible? So these meditators actually have some element of that, but they're told to ignore it because obviously they're trying to get to nothing or trying to stay in the zone. So the fact that it's happening there is incredible. And I think too, Jeff, I think I think I said earlier about walking into a forest. If I haven't said it earlier, I'm going to say it now. Let's say a human walks into a forest, right? All these creatures are there. There might be a panther that makes eye contact with us because it sees us as food and starts walking towards us. I think whatever I've opened up in me and when I engage it, it's like me walking into a forest, and they can see me now because whatever happened in my brain, it's lit up, and my vision, they know that I'm paying attention in this place that humans are too dumb or not evolved enough to see. It's almost like a worm. And I wrote a video, I created a video on this on my website. It's like if a worm just started sprouting eyes and talking to a lab tech, that would be wild. I think there's an element of that. I think something is evolved, and I can see something else that's occupying our earth that's been here as long as we have, probably longer, more evolved than us. But that's, you know, the more people that can do this, if we get 100 of us, it's going to be, you know, if we get 100 of us seeing the same thing, that's the key.
Yeah,
Seeing
that would
the
be
same
amazing.
thing is the key. That's the key.
Yeah, because then it would, I guess that would mean that there's something there that's presenting itself, you know, to everybody.
Absolutely.
Why, like, for example, a gorilla playing with toys? I don't know.
I don't know either. Some things, okay, so this is interesting. Some things, I can see my children when they were younger playing it behind my house. There's silhouettes of them, and I know it's them. So that's kind of cool. It's like a memory coming to life. It's not an exact memory, but I can see something like that. I can see myself when I was younger. Again, I don't know if I want to call it remote viewing or remembering something. If it's real, it's some kind of manifestation, part memory, part something. But I know it's me. I know what I looked like when I was 7, and I know what my kid looks like when he was 7. But I don't think it's exact. I don't think it's, you know, it's not a perfect memory, but that's coming from in me, I believe. That part is coming from in me, where many things are not.
I have a question, and someone wants to know if you've tried DMT before.
My year, yeah, I was on DMT for sure. The year I was wasted.
Do you think that had any effect?
You know, it might have. It might have been another piece. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Maybe that's when it opened and stayed open. Right?
Yeah, that makes
I mean,
sense.
that's the best way to describe it. Something was open and it stayed open. The filter is just not there.
I wonder if the person who was previously in the chat saying that she did heavy drug use, if you're still there, did you do DMT as well? And the problem is, I guess, for you to actually, you know, meet with people and compare notes. Have you done much of that?
No. I'm just starting. Because, you know, there's no, this is the first, the paper is still under peer review. So, you know, in the next couple of months, I can't remember the publications it's going to be in. Then people are come forward. And again, I've made it a mission again on podcasts like this to talk about it so we can come together. I've got a Facebook page called Upsight Vision. It's got 2 followers. I said, if you have an experience, leave a note here, you know, leave a message so we can connect. So yeah, Upsight Vision on Facebook. If you have it, connect there. And again, we might have it in different degrees. If you don't have all the pieces of it, you might have something and it may get stronger over time. I definitely think mine's gotten stronger, whether it's practiced at it or not. I don't know.
Wow. All right. Well, your book is called Jesus Goes to Hollywood, right?
A Memoir of Madness. Jesus Goes to Hollywood and then A Memoir of Madness. Gotta have both.
All right. Do you have anything else going on that you want people to know about besides the book?
No, I don't. I am literally, I just wanted to let people know if they have this, you know, you can reach out to one of those places you can find me. And we can connect. It's a support group. Not enough people have it, so it's a support. But yeah, if you want to connect and talk about it and make you, you know, and put you at ease with it. But no, there's nothing I'm not saying. The book is there. It's been out for 3 years. It'd be great if somebody wants to buy it. And by the way, the book is it's a family drama. It's a recovery book. The first 2/3 are what happened, some wild stories, and the last third is me looking for answers.
The person in the chat made a great point, and I'd be curious for you to see something. She said that she's always done it with her eyes closed, and and she never tried it with her eyes open, and she did, and now she can do it with her eyes open too, and she had no idea.
There you go.
So can you do it with your eyes closed?
Of course, yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I go to sleep at night. I shut my eyes and I picture a stream and a river, and I watch the whatever, butterflies, fish.
Well, then you're actually choosing what to look at, not something being presented.
Oh yeah,
to
no,
you.
you can influence it, right? Once
So you can
influence
it.
Sure. And I found the things that keep coming back are the things that are true. Like this side view of the rainbow, again, that's not a thing, but it always comes back. So I'm like, there's something there that we physicists, you know, somebody smarter than me needs to study and figure out what's going on.
Interesting that I didn't realize that you could influence it.
Yeah, for sure. Willfully engage it. That's.
I mean, if you engage that gorilla right now,
yeah.
What can you do to it?
You want me to do it now?
Yeah, why not?
All right. So let's. It might not be a gorilla. Okay. So what's there now? It's a gorilla just sitting there looking at me like I'm an idiot. You know? Hold on. No, he's got a little toy car. He's pushing back and forth. He's doing figure eights. Yeah. So what do you want me to tell it to do?
Oh, I don't know.
Right. I'll say throw the car. Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't know. There's I can't it's so yeah, so he picked up the car and threw it. That's it. What does that mean? It's nothing. It's just
Right.
no, it's bizarre.
The
It's
person
bizarre.
well, how about this? The person that is in the chat, let's have you look up and see what you see.
Beautiful. Let's do that. Well, let's
That'd
see.
be interesting
Okay,
if
wait a
she
minute.
saw a gorilla too.
Time out. Let's do this. This is a great test, Jeff. I don't have the screen in front of me.
Okay.
Tell her to look up what she sees, type in and tell me when she typed it and I'll tell you what it says. It's probably not going to work. I've done tons of tests like
Okay, so
tell her whatever she sees. Tell her to look up there.
And she's probably listening too. So I think her name was where did it go? I thought her name was Susan, but whatever you're seeing, type it in the chat and we'll see if he'll see the same thing.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm typing it is if I'm going to see it, I'm going to see it. Hold on.
We'll see what she sees.
Yeah, I'm seeing something very specific.
All right.
Is she ready?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Unfortunately, the chat is on like about a, 30-second time delay or so. So I have to wait.
Okay.
Okay, we're waiting. We're still waiting on her. So that's her name. Her name is Susan. So Susan, if you can hear us, look up and
look at there. I can engage you now. I know what I've seen.
All right, Susan, try.
Tell me when the word is up. Yeah, tell me when it's up, and I'll tell you what I saw. And I don't want to say anything.
All right, well, let's say so Susan, try looking up, and then whatever you see, even if it's not a gorilla, type it in the chat.
Perfect.
So we'll see what you see. And we'll have to wait about that.
Well, while she's doing that, so this is that psychic or clairvoyant part of it that I have no control over, but it happens a lot. So I'm going to a business meeting and I tell a friend about this, a business associate, and he's like, well, is there any kind of, can you tell me what I'm thinking? I'm like, no. So we get to his office, right? And he goes, well, let's do it. Just like we did this. So I do it. I look over and I tell him, I see a brand new sports car in his showroom. He pulls out his phone. He just bought a brand new sports car.
Wow.
That was a wow for me. That was a wow. Cause like I said, I don't get paid to do this. He was like, I could see his face get chills. Yeah, that was wild.
All right. Well, we're still waiting on her.
So I don't know if I could focus on that. And I don't know if I want to, I'd rather, I know I can get in a lab, to your point, 100% success doing this. Those other things are different amount of success.
Oh, well, while I'm there, you may want to, I was speaking about it earlier, and I have something called Discord. It's kind of like Facebook, but different, and I have my own private rooms. There's about 500 to 600 people there. You can chat, you can post whatever you want, post memes, post about your book. They can video chat, audio chat, whatever, and you're welcome to join, and anybody else watching, you're welcome to join. You just go to discord.com and create a profile, and then you have to email me personally and I'll give you the passcode to get in. And I did that because people were causing trouble, and I finally kicked them all out, and then the passcode used to be available publicly, but I had to stop that because they would just go right back in. And I don't know what happened to her. I don't know. I don't think we're much on that.
Well,
much of a delay.
Let me tell you what I saw. Let's forget it. I saw a bee's nest or a hornet's nest.
A hornet's nest. So it changed from the gorilla to a hornet's nest.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't know if it changed. That moved away. It's almost like clouds, So something comes through in the next one. Again, and once you engage it, instead of going left to right, this isn't exactly right. Let's say it's coming towards you. right? So that's the thing. But nothing lasts. Everything, you can't hold an image for a long time.
Right. And then she just said, I see so much and so randomly, it would take hours to tell everything.
That is an honest answer. Yeah, I
I
get
will
it.
try not now and then let you know. All right.
Yeah.
So I guess she hasn't tried. All right. Well.
No, but that's honest. That's true. It's very hard. You know, that's real.
All right. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation, Tom. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. And again, did we put a way to contact you? Did we put his, what was your email address again?
It's TOM, TOM, and then another M.
TOMMATTE
at me.com.
At me.com.
At me.com.
Oh, at me.com, right? me.com?
Yes, exactly.
Or at me.com. That's like the Apple.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's the Apple one. Tom at me.com. Yeah, that's it.
And then if you want to follow me on Twitter.
And then all right, your Twitter is
at TOMEMATTE. Tom E. Matt.
Tom EMATTE.
That's it, yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
And the name is Tom Matt / Upsight Vision.
Okay. All right.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Well, listen, Jeff, I had a pleasure.
This is great. That's awesome. And please, when you
on your other conversations, you talk to psychics, you talk to all these people. If anybody brings it up, send them my way.
All right. It's great. You know, it's one of the awesome things about my job is I get to meet fascinating people like you, and this is something that just adds to my, my database here.
Yeah, I think so.
And file this away, just like I was telling you about the indie ear that could see stuff in the air. So this is pretty interesting. And
yeah.
And when you do get more testing done, or if things evolve or you learn something else, please come back and update us.
I sure will, Jeff. I will. Thank
That'd
you so
awesome.
much.
All right, Tom. Thank you so much. All right, take care. Oh, he's gone already. That was fast. And a big round of applause for Tom. All right, so we are going to finish up here because I do 2 a night with Mr. Leslie. Leslie's here, and Leslie's going to testing done or if things evolve. Play us a tune before he goes. I hear him banging around on his keyboard. You guys probably hear it too. Leslie, do you hear me? I don't think he hears me. Ah, there he is. Hi, Leslie.
Yes, hello.
How are you, Leslie? How are you, my old friend?
Yeah, thank you.
Your voice is good. It's loud today. Sometimes your microphone's not loud enough, but I can hear you loud and clear today.
Maybe very close to me just here.
A good idea. It was a great idea. How have you been? I haven't seen you in a while.
I study a lot of things. Just very shortly, I'm very interested for work with the Lord.
Yes.
Lord's angel. About his name is Raphael. About healing.
Okay.
And it's very interesting in the Bible, for cannot find Raphael archangel's name in the Protestant Bible, just in the Catholic Bible. And even one Bible verse what share about the healing, what's happened in a pool in Gospel of John, also mentioned for many early script don't share about these healings. So a little bit look like everything is very behind, but I myself had some heart problem, and I asked Raphael Angels if you really exist. I like to experience for you do something. For I know Jesus is a healer, and he did more than 2,000 years ago for us. It's okay. But if you are exist, can you do something? And honestly, in 3 minutes later, I just heard something in my heart, and the pain is gone. It's not means for oh wow, a new heart, but definitely this pressure or things is gone. So I very seriously start working, and basically my music is now more focusing if somebody have pain or sickness, especially those who in hospital and they have, not too much to do. And listen, maybe the music what I playing, maybe by faith and not by my music, but by God can receive healing. So this is what I doing this the last few weeks, months, very new for me. I just student.
All right. Well, you're going to play for us, right?
Definitely.
All right.
I very appreciate it for give this time for me.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, dedicated for those who seek people. Maybe you also can, if you have a little faith, you can get out from your knees and blah, blah, blah. You know what's happening. Okay. So we need a piano, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here. Can you
There it is.
see
Yeah,
that?
there you are.
And I think so it's better if I not on the picture.
No, I'm gonna do this. We want to see you. So I'm taking
Really?
me out. Yeah, you're the star here.
Oh, dear. I think so. Hopefully, it's
There we go.
God
That's much
or
better.
of God. Thank you. You really, really very kind. And thank you for today for these possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh, we can't hear your keyboard.
Okay, very nice. Now you can hear. So let's start.
All right. You can't hear this. Let me turn myself back on. You can't hear this, but there's a big round of applause going for you. Leslie, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for coming and playing with that. It was
This is very precious, really very precious.
Now, do you when in the past when we were doing the podcast afterwards, you were still playing for people? Are you still doing that?
Not. It's really it's a different time, so I don't playing after your service, but I am available basically every second week, Saturday evening. So if you want some music refreshing between your two podcasts or ending, let me know. If this is okay, I really don't want to put myself, but if it's kind of blessings for your podcast every second Saturday evening, I can have.
Yeah,
just
we can always. Yeah, you just show up when you're ready, and we can finish the night with you.
Oh, this is very great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So see you 2 weeks later. I just coming in. Look like your Zoom code is same. So I'm just coming and you can see. So it's thank you very much. I'm really and greetings for everybody. I'm very appreciated for your encouragement and all the words. It's very nice. And today, happy Chinese New Year.
Yeah, happy Chinese New Year. I didn't say that. When I saw something, I said I was thinking I should have said that, but you are there in China right now, so it must be a big deal over there.
Wow.
All right, Leslie. Well, thank you for joining me. God bless you and have a good evening.
And for you to see you.
All right, again, a big round of applause for Leslie there. And there he goes. He's gone. All right, guys. Well, I felt like that was a great show tonight. It was really awesome. We had 3 great guests, and Leslie too. And again, a couple of things. Tomorrow is a very interesting NDE with a person who's not only done NDE, had the NDE, but has done psychedelics. So you get a great comparison. And we've got a week full of stuff coming ahead for you guys. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We love you. God bless you and good night.